The objectives of this module are to define what a professional engineer is, introduce the requirements for licensure, provide guidance on how to take the FE exam, introduce the requirements for maintaining and transferring a license, and discuss why you should get licensed. A century ago, anyone could work as an engineer without proof of competency. In order to protect the public health, safety, and welfare, the first engineering licensing law was enacted in 1907 in Wyoming. Now, every state regulates the practice of engineering to ensure public safety by granting only professional engineers, or PEs, the authority to sign and seal engineering plans and offer their services to the public. Professional licensure protects the public by enforcing standards that restrict practice to qualified individuals who have met specific qualifications in education, work experience, and exams. All states have registration laws governing the practice of engineering, and those laws lead to several unique responsibilities being given to professional engineers, including only a licensed engineer can prepare, sign and seal, and submit engineering plans and drawings to a public authority for approval, or seal engineering work for public and private clients. Licensure for engineers in government has become increasingly significant. In many federal, state, and municipal agencies, certain government engineering positions, particularly those considered higher level and responsible positions, must be filled by licensed professional engineers. Most states prohibit persons who are not registered professional engineers from advertising, using a business card, or otherwise indicating that they're an engineer. They also restrict them from practicing, offering to practice, or by any implication holding themselves out as being qualified to practice as an engineer. Professional engineers shoulder the responsibility for not only their work but also the lives affected by that work, and must hold themselves to high ethical standards of practice. Licensure for a consulting engineer or a private practitioner is not something that is merely desirable. It is a legal requirement for those who are in responsible charge of work in most states. To become a professional engineer, you must earn a degree from an ABET accredited engineering program, pass the Fundamentals of Engineering exam, gain acceptable work experience, which is typically a minimum of 4 years, and pass the Principles and Practice of Engineering, or PE exam. While it may seem early for you to be thinking about becoming a professional engineer, notice that the first two requirements are directly tied to things you're doing or could be doing right now. A capstone experience, like the one you're completing, is a firm requirement for an ABET accredited degree. Moreover, many of the assessment criteria used to approve your degree come directly from senior design. So, congratulations, you're in the process of checking off the first requirement towards becoming a PE. The second requirement to pass the FE exam is something you should be seriously considering at this stage in your career too. If you complete both your ABET accredited degree program and pass the FE exam, you'll be given an engineering intern certificate by the State Board of Architects, Professional Engineers, and Professional Land Surveyors. If you haven't already heard of it, the FE exam is a computer-based exam targeted at new engineering graduates. It's meant to test your knowledge on the foundational topics in each discipline. The test is administered year-round at approved test centers and takes approximately 6 hours to complete. Don't worry, there's a break halfway through. The test's built around 100 multiple-choice questions. As mentioned, the test is centered around foundational topics in each discipline, so there are actually 7 discipline-specific tests currently offered. These disciplines include chemical, civil, electrical and computer, environmental, industrial, mechanical, and a catch-all called Other Disciplines. For more information on the exam, see the link shown for the NCEES website. On behalf of the college, I want to strongly encourage you to take the exam. You may not currently see a professional engineering license in your future, but you never know, and it's much easier to complete the FE requirement now before you leave college. While these NCEES statistics are a few years old, the general trend still holds. Your chances of passing the FE exam are greatest when you're within 12 months of graduation. Pass rates go down significantly for individuals who change their mind and take the test at a later date. And we're proud to say that the pass rate for mine students is well above the national average pass rate. Part of the reason for that high pass rate at mines is the tools offered to you. as you prepare for the Fundamentals of Engineering exam. Keep these things in mind. First, be familiar with your guidebook and calculator. NCEES provides a handbook of formulas and equations that you can use during your FE exam. In addition, it restricts what types of calculators can be used, so you may want to read those requirements on their website. Make sure you plan and study for the test ahead of time. There are 100 questions on the test, and we know that the exam is about 5.5 hours of active test-taking time. That means that you have about 3 minutes per question, so what kind of questions could we ask you in 3 minutes? One way to find out is to take advantage of mine's free CSM review course, which is offered every semester. Each session is a review or reminder of key points for a section of the exam. For more information, check out the link shown. When you're ready to take the Fundamentals of Engineering exam, there are 3 main steps that you should complete. First, submit your FE exam application to the Colorado Department of Regulatory Agencies, also known as DORA. There's a $30 application fee here, and the link shown will take you where you need to go. After you've completed that, register for the FE exam online with NCEES. Do this concurrently with registering with the state. They'll sort things out later. There's a $225 testing fee, and you can find more information at the link shown. Finally, while this isn't required, I would like to strongly recommend that you attend the FE review sessions we just talked about. Details are available at the link shown. By completing these 3 steps and a little bit of studying on your own, you should be ready to take the FE exam. Let's pause here and make sure we understand who's who with regards to licensing. You may have noticed several acronyms thrown out recently. There are 3 main entities you will work with if you decide to pursue licensure. The state boards set licensing standards, monitor registration, and deal with issues that arise like poor practice of licensed engineers. NCEES, or the National Council of Examiners for Engineers and Surveyors, develop and administer the exams, train the examiners, and provide study materials. NSPE, or the National Society of Professional Engineers, advocate on behalf of PEs, provide a model law and ethical codes which are adopted by many states in one form or another, and educate about registration. These 3 entities work together to register, monitor, and support professional engineers. Before we go further, let's pause to check your understanding. Great. Now let's touch on the other 2 major requirements for licensure. Number 3, gain acceptable work experience, and 4, pass the Principles and Practice of Engineering exam. As mentioned before, states set licensing requirements. So, for each state, the experience requirements may be slightly different. However, typically it's required to have 4 years of progressive work experience. Progressive experience means engineering work of increasing complexity and responsibility. Graduate school may or may not count towards this, depending on the state. And you may or may not have to work directly below a licensed professional engineer, depending upon the state. You'll need to look at the specific state for more information on these requirements. To make your life easier, look into opening an NCEES file early in your career. It will help you document this progressive experience and training so that it's easier to pull together when it's time to prepare your application. The Principles and Practice of Engineering exam, more commonly known as the PE exam, is an 8-hour exam split into 2 sections. The general morning section, which takes about 4 hours, and the afternoon specialty section, which is an additional 4 hours. In addition to the basic exam, there are some disciplines that require additional testing. For example, structural engineers have to create significant additional testing requirements before they can be licensed to practice. It's been said now several times that states set licensing standards. This means that they can vary from state to state, and it also means that a license in Colorado does not give you the privilege of practicing in another state. You must be licensed to practice in the state you're working in. Hopefully this gives you pause. Luckily, with some notable exceptions, most state laws allow for licensure reciprocity. This is called comity. You do often have to pay fees in each state, and you may be subject to multiple and different continuing education requirements for each state. So those are the basics for licensing. Now to answer the question, why would I get licensed? Let's actually turn that over to a few licensed professional engineers using this video courtesy of NCEES Media.
As an employer looking at a resume on a table that has, if she's got two candidates side by side and one's got a license and one doesn't, the employer automatically knows that the person with the PE has already met a minimum standard of education, experience, and qualifications set by his peers. It takes away one unknown for him.
If I were interviewing a candidate for a job and they had their PE license, it would tell me two things. It would tell me that they are technically solid, and it would tell me that they are willing to put forth the extra effort in whatever job they're doing, be it their license or any other job they may do for me.
Well, the biggest thing that motivated me was, to me, it's the overall, it's almost the finish line. It's the ultimate goal to me in engineering is to become a professional engineer. And it's something that I always kept in the back of my mind, kept me very driven on those levels, because it's like stopping short if I didn't get there. And it's something that also, it provides a great deal of flexibility in your career as you go on, whether it's not with the same company or somewhere different. If I didn't take it, if I didn't pursue it, I think it really did limit me as a person.
What I would tell someone that wasn't sure whether they would need their PE or not is that, like I say, you never know what you are going to do.
It's two little letters, but it just opens the door for you to do so much more.
It can only help your career. It'll open doors for you. It'll make you a lot more marketable than someone who doesn't have a PE.
That completes this module on licensure. For more information on the topics discussed here, go to the links below. Once you are done exploring, please complete the final quiz.